On the track, the action is fast and furious. But when the racing stops, A1GP is even more impressive.
Basically, as soon as the flag dropped at Zandvoort, the team started packing away. They were finished by midnight. Then we started loading trucks, worked through the night. 23 trucks in total. Finished about 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon, and then headed straight here.
The trucks covered around 1,000 kilometres to get from Zandvoort to Brno, moving over 250 tonnes of equipment. But it's the timescale which makes it impressive.
It was a 28-hour trip here, and we got in here Tuesday morning, unloaded and allowed the teams in today, Thursday, which is a day later than normal. We do more than any other racing series in terms of logistics. You know, we move further, we move to more countries, and we move more equipment, so it's a fairly big job.
And once the equipment is here, it's time for the teams to begin their gruelling weekend work schedule. The garages are prepared, the cars built, and only then can the racing begin.
Sometimes I stand back and think, how on earth did we do that myself? It's quite a big operation, moving all this around.
It's like a stage show, you don't see what goes on in the background.
So, let the show begin. A street circuit can be tricky, not just for drivers, but for engineers as well. But what are the factors that are crucial to car setup and ultimately race pace?
Very, very bumpy. All over the place. I can't ride the curbs. I can't brake well. It's locking. So we have a lot of work to do.
Mainly on a street circuit, you need to run the car very soft. Your tyre pressures are absolutely critical to controlling the squash of the tyre. The sidewall is very wide, and so it will act as a spring. The stiffness of this sidewall plays a very critical role in the setup of the car, and consequently the management of your tyre pressures is very important.
Reducing your rear tyre pressures, that will be the only change for this run. Can we go lower on the front tyre pressures as well? Yes, I can do.
In contrast to a racetrack, street circuits are viciously bumpy. A driver and his engineer must compromise and run the car much softer, making constant adjustments to the springs to make the car faster.
I think we can still go a bit softer because I suffer a bit oversteer in turn 5.
Okay.
And especially as it's coming onto the main straight at the back.
Yeah.
I think we might lose a little bit of speed.
Before we make any plans to go softer on any springs, we need to check to see if we've worn anything away on the rear plank.
Well, we're only allowed 1 millimetre wear on the plank, and with the circuit being so bumpy, it's really important that we choose the correct spring rate, also the correct static ride heights.
How was the ride height? The floor hitting? Negative. The floor is okay at the moment.
So this weekend, spare a thought for not only the drivers as they tackle this tricky circuit, but for the engineers too.
Let's do it, boys. Let's get through the work.
A1GP drivers are fiercely competitive, constantly battling to gain the smallest advantage. In Taupo, New Zealand, battle commenced a little too soon.
The start's been aborted. The race director did not like the start. They've got to do it again.
When the leaders came out of the first corner, the first 2 cars were in the wrong position, and several of the cars behind were also out of where they should be, so I decided to leave the red lights on and send them round again.
A1GP gives its fans unrivaled access to the action. And here in Sydney, we went behind the scenes at the all-important drivers' briefing.
As race director, the first of my job, I have the drivers' briefing, and it's to see what happened on the previous run and to explain what's happened on the current event with the difference from circuit to circuit. From the start of the season, we have no proper rolling start, and topo, I think, was the worst ever. You don't know what means the red light, because the red light was still on and you start the race, and it was really something very, very bad.
Another key decision maker at every A1 GP race is the clerk of the course.
As an ex-professional racing driver, I think this gives me quite an advantage because I can understand the psyche of the drivers. I can also understand what the marshal's point of view is. So it puts me in a very good position to weigh up situations, whether to use a safety car, whether to red flag, whether to use yellow flags.
We have different responsibilities. The clerk of the course, it's the local man who knows the circuit and the man around the track. And on my side, I know the driver and the regulation on the championship. And so we are working close together.
So when the racing starts, it won't just be the fans scrutinising the action.
Overtaking is what the drivers love to do and the spectators want to see. This weekend, A1GP visits a track with the longest and widest start-finish straight on the calendar. A 1 kilometre blast between the walls leading down to the first corner. A perfect place for the kind of passing that A1GP has become famous for. But what exactly is the science of overtaking?
Team Australia in the hole in the air created by Lebanon, and he's using it to the maximum. He's going past, perfect.
Once in the slipstream, the move can be completed in different ways.
Canada under its pressure. Africa trying to go around the outside here. John, what a move by Alan van der Merwe. Goes around the outside of Canada. Can he hold it? Yeah, pretty good. Great Britain's going to go down the inside. Robbie Kerr late on the brake, slithers, slides, turns in. Oh, that's a great move by Robbie Kerr.
And whilst Team Indonesia's Ananda Mikala demonstrates the right way to do it,
Indonesia diving down the inside of Australia, and that was for position, that was for 5th place.
he also shows how not to.
Ananda Mikala going down the inside, he's trying to do both of them, he's braked too late, and he's off.
Overtaking in a slow corner is often associated with an aggressive positioning of the car to steal the line.
Canada leading, Malaysia going for the inside and taking aggressively that piece of ground. Canada trying to turn in, can't make it.
Sometimes the contact is light enough to allow both cars to continue.
Canada slides, Great Britain on the inside, hits the Czech Republic, but they still continue.
A1GP's unique power boost adds an extra spice to the mix, and when it all comes together, the results are spectacular.
China's going for it, trying to take 3rd place from the Netherlands. Will he go round the outside at turn 1? What a manoeuvre by Ho Bintang of China.
The circuit Ricardo Pedro Rodriguez here in the park in Mexico City has got to be one of my all-time top 10 circuits of the world. I'm joined by 3 Grand Prix legends who've all raced here as well. Do you think they've got the same opinion as me? They are the 1980 Formula One world champion Alan Jones, the 1972 and 1974 world champion Emerson Fittipaldi, and Piercarlo Genzani. Like me, we just did a lot of Grand Prix. Emerson, you raced here in 1970. What are your memories of this great circuit?
John, you know, it's so long ago, but the track was a great track to drive. It was a challenge track to drive with slow corners, fast corners.
When I raced here, it was basically open fields, and it certainly was a great circuit. But with all the new buildings and everything now, I'm having a bit of trouble remembering it.
And Peraltada, who is one of the most legendary corners in the world, that we have to be really brave to go fast here.
I remember the circuit very nice, and the corner really quick before the pit line.
Great circuit, difficult to drive, challenge.